Yo, what's up?
Are we live?
No,
Are we going?
we're dead. Can't you see that bloody background? I'll trade places.
We're on?
Cheers.
Can we crack our beers?
Hey, guess what? Let's crack our soda. Ready?
I got a LaCroix.
In 3,
Same.
2.
Oh,
Hold on, I don't have fingernails. Hold on. let me get
Oh man, what do you bite them all off
it.
like
Oh,
every
shit.
every
I
other
can't even
nervous
get under
person?
there. I can't get under there. You're gonna have to help me.
Here.
Someone's gonna have to help me.
Here, I'll help you, dude. Get you started
All
just a
right,
little
all
bit.
right,
Not
here we
all the way though, because we got to do our drink. 3, 2, 1,
Oh.
and click, click. Cheers. All right, let's see. I got my kids A&W root beer,
And I got a hazy Pepsi.
a hazy Pepsi, and Vince has
LaCroix.
show your LaCroix.
Good stuff.
That's our main screen right there.
Where's the camera at? Where are we looking?
Yeah, that's our camera right
right
there.
there.
That's us. Cheers.
All right,
So grab your
cheers.
favorite non-alcoholic beverage. Yeah, right. Whatever. And cheers. So Vince doesn't drink, so we're gonna not drink tonight.
Neither do we. What are you talking about?
I know. I've never had a drink of beer in my life.
Exactly.
So
I just drink mocktails.
tonight, you guys, on Mike on a Platter, we have Vince James back. So from the Red Elephant. Sa. Is it Za?
Sa with an S. Yes.
Yes, Red Elephants. I'm just kidding. Anyhow, he wanted to come back on. We wanted to have him back on so we can have some more fun.
Yep.
Are you ready for more
Should
fun?
we be close to the mic or it doesn't matter?
Ah,
How's it
you know what?
sound?
You're good right about
As long
there.
as you
Good.
project your
As long
voice.
as you see a little bit of yellow when you're talking, you know you're getting it.
Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
you're like right into it now.
Yep.
All right, we're good.
Whoa, I'm getting buzzed on this
Oh,
A&W beer, root beer. Good
I,
stuff.
actually, I like root beer a lot. I can't
Yeah.
drink it too often though. It's super sugary.
No,
When I do go for root beer, I go for like the natural, higher quality. I don't know if you can say that they're higher quality.
yeah,
So
me
like
too.
the-
Same, but
What is it, like the
Yeah,
Jones
like the-
beer? Or Jones soda?
Or like
Is
the
that what it's called?
like the really good
Whatever's-
ginger beers.
I like ginger beer.
Really
a
good
lot,
ginger
actually.
beer, I like, yeah.
I do like ginger beer, though, but you have to find ginger beer that doesn't have like, and it's very difficult to find this, but that doesn't have like that trace amounts of alcohol in there. That's for me anyway. That's for me.
Well, the one Reed's is really good.
Reed's is
That's
good,
like
yeah,
a
Reed's,
premium,
the
high
green
quality.
bottle, right?
Yeah, man, from Jamaica, man.
It's got THC in it. That's why.
Yeah, man. Oh, that's why I like it so
Someone's
much.
saying, "Yo, who are the people?" Someone's in chat. Yo, who are these people, Vince?
Yeah, right.
If they run with Vince, they're cool with me. Yeah, these
Hey.
are my previous, and we're not going to say where we worked at, but, all right, some still work there. These are previous employees of
Yeah.
the job I used to have.
Yep.
The job that I've told you all about, the job that I worked at for 13 years.
Where he used to actually
Dang.
do some real work. He used to
Ad
slave.
agency slash, I was a wagey. I was a wagey
Dude,
back
a
then.
wagey, dude.
The
I know.
wagey.
We're wageys now. That's what we are. We're wageys.
I like
you hear
that.
this?
I like
We're
that.
wageys.
Yeah, it wasn't a wagey. It was a, it's a good job.
It was. Yeah, you had some shiny moments there. And you got me the job there, and I appreciate that.
No, I did, and you were. This was my client. This was my client. Eric was my client. He worked for. Can I say it?
Yeah.
Wellington Signs, and
Right.
I actually still have him recorded to my phone when he calls or texts me, because I actually helped him get like this live streaming setup going. I said you should live stream, like screw, like the pre-recorded stuff. Well, pre-recorded stuff is good, but live streaming is where it's at. Live streaming is what people enjoy, and especially with like a studio like this, very chill, very calm, sort of a Joe Rogan style studio, and people would really dig the live streams. And so I'm here, and I actually did get him the job there. I got him the job, and I have him recorded in my phone as well. Eric from Wellington Signs.
That's
Still have
funny.
him in my-
Still.
my
Well-
phone. You know, now that you talked about that smell, I really smell it now.
Yeah, someone's smoking some serious weed outside. No, it's
No,
actually, there's a
skunk.
skunk going by for reals.
Can you believe that Vince has never, or yeah, you've never smelled skunk before,
I've
never.
never smelled a skunk before. And
That's
you said,
crazy.
how is that possible?
How can you
Why?
live in Southern
Yeah.
California all these years
That's
and
like
have
saying you-
never smelled a skunk?
It's like saying you've never seen a raccoon.
I've seen a skunk. I've never smelled a skunk before, but it smells like burnt plastic.
Have you seen an alien?
I've seen UFOs.
You have?
Yeah, I've
Nice.
seen UFOs.
Nice.
There was
A
one
believer. We got a
vivid-
believer right here.
Of course, there's one vivid memory I have when I was growing up, and I was going to karate practice, karate,
Hey.
at Cobra Kai studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Studio that
Showing no mercy.
I practiced karate at. And I remember going with my friend, and we were in the back of his station wagon. Remember those old station wagons that have the seat that faces toward the back?
Oh yeah, that was
Those-
classic. You could put all 15 of the neighborhood kids in
Yeah.
one
Did they
station
have
wagon.
seatbelts?
No seatbelts.
No seatbelts, man.
We had we were in that, we had a bunch of neighborhood kids in the car. We were going to karate practice, and we see this like triangular light. There were like 3 dots in a triangle shape, and it was moving around in the sky. And we pointed it out, and his mom was even like freaked out by this. Like this was 100%. It was either a UFO or it was like some government operation or something like that. And I'll never forget that.
Hey, see if you can find a triangle.
I'm sure everybody's seen it. That's
Yeah.
like the common video.
that is a pretty
you
common
know?
one. That's right.
Is it a common one?
Yeah, the triangle with the 3 lights on each corner or point.
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering that question. That's cool. It's nice to have somebody who's seen or experienced something. Most of the people that come on here are like, yeah, there's amoebas on rocks in outer space. And we're like,
That's
no,
crazy.
dude.
You didn't tell us this the last time you were here.
About the UFO?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we were talking about
Well, that's
UFOs.
because Vince was too busy going off, man. He
I
was
going
on
off
a he was
I don't
on
even
a
remember what
hot
I was
one,
going
man.
off on. Someone's asking, is the thing where people bathe in tomato soup to get skunk spray an old myth, or do people really do that?
Actually, there's tomato juice and paste pouring right behind us. You can see it right here, and that's to wash Vince because he's horrified this burnt plastic smell. is
Oh,
freaking him out.
I literally looked behind me. I was like, what are you talking
The
about?
second
I was like,
fucking
I
Kaibo
got
looked
tricked
back
by
there
that.
too.
So I'm trying to pick a video. I'm like, oh, hey, Vince, I was waiting for you to get here so I could put a video in the background that you would like to have. You know, something that you think represents you. So he shows up, you know, kind of close to starting time. So I'm like, fuck, I got to pick something.
Sorry.
So he's sitting there looking. He's
Sorry,
like, how about that one?
complicated
Yeah, I
business.
like that one. Well, how about this one? Yeah, I like that one. Well, which one do you want? Yeah, I like that one. Dude, come on, man, pick something. So he picked the tomato paste.
Yeah, it's very calm, not too busy, not too distracted.
Well, actually, it's perfect. We looked up red because we wanted to honor the red elephants, right?
Let's answer the question. Does the tomato paste work?
That's what I hear. You bathe
it?
your
Tomato
animal or your body or whatever you were trying to put in that skunk. You just bathe it in tomato paste and it washes it all away.
Oh, damn.
So there you go.
That's crazy.
So Vince, what's been happening? What's the shakedown? What's the shakedown in your hood, man?
Nothing, man. Just trudging along, doing the show every day over on Trovo.live and
Okay.
trying to, we cover the news and we talk. We not just the news. We talk about certain other things too. But for the most part, it's like a news show. And I think that the main topics.
Yeah, what's
of-
really hitting right now? for
Well,
you?
I mean, what has become like a staple of my show, of course, is the coronavirus and what's going on
Right.
with that. But it's not really just the coronavirus. It's more like the government reaction to the coronavirus. And not only the government reaction to the coronavirus, but also the reaction from like corporations to the coronavirus and things that affect the people. And then second, I would say another big thing is what else is like a major staple of my show that we talk about a lot? I would say, well, I mean, there's a lot of bills right now being proposed that would affect gun rights. There's a major crackdown on Trump supporters nationwide, basically, because of what happened at the Capitol on the 6th. And so, we've been talking a lot about that stuff.
well, damn.
Touch on that. What are your thoughts on that?
On what?
The Capitol riot.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way that they're covering it, it's like complete horseshit, obviously. Like, where was this reaction for, like, the months of Black Lives Matter riots that we've experienced?
Yeah.
They said, and actually, even, like, up until today, there was just a video I saw where Antifa stormed another courthouse. A couple of days ago, they stormed a courthouse and forced the mayor to be evacuated, and not a breath of that in the mainstream media. So the coverage of it is complete horseshit. It was, like, mostly a peaceful protest. Like, I think the extent, even the New York Times admitted that the extent of the damage was like a couple of broken windows. I mean, that's like a few minutes. For
No,
Black
this
Lives
was the
Matter.
White House one.
No,
No,
the
the
Capitol.
Capitol.
building.
Oh, the Capitol.
Yeah.
The Capitol.
The-
Damn, the White House.
yeah.
Imagine.
Imagine, yeah, you can't even get close
yeah.
to the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy. And
the coverage of it is ridiculous.
And a woman died, right?
Yeah, she was a
She got shot by a cop who's not identified, by the way.
yeah.
Who has not been identified. Imagine if it was like a white lady who was unarmed who got shot by a black lady who was unarmed who got shot by like a white cop.
Yeah.
Imagine that the guy's face would be all over the New York Times right now. But no one knows who the cop was. Like he's not even identified. No one even knows who he is.
Oh, damn.
It's crazy.
But there's that picture of that other cop that everybody was blowing up where he's supposedly fighting off the mob.
Yeah, and then it came out. So the New York Times printed a headline that said, "Pro-Trump mob kills cop. Officer Sicknick was his name." And then it comes out like a couple of days ago that even the New York Times admitted. I think I only had one more. Yeah, I have one more in the fridge for me because I usually go through like 3 a show for the sparkling waters. But then it comes out like a couple of days ago that even CNN admitted that it wasn't the pro-Trump mob that killed the cop. The cop didn't even die from the pro-Trump mob. He wasn't even hit with a fire extinguisher. But the damage was done already. Like most people believe that was the case. So even though they came out and corrected themselves and said it was an outright lie and retracted their story, it doesn't matter because the majority of the population already think that the officer was killed by Trump supporters. So the only
Crazy.
person that died from violence was Ashley Babbitt, who got killed by the police officer, the Capitol police officer, who is yet to be identified.
Well, wasn't Ashley Babbitt like an ex military or something like that? She was trained.
Yeah.
And she wasn't wielding a weapon.
No,
Was
she was
she?
just climbing the door.
Someone's saying you're too loud, and Vince isn't. Maybe I have to move closer to the thing. You guys got to upgrade the chairs in here, man.
You know,
Yeah, we do.
I'll
jo-
add
and
it to the
maybe
list,
the
Vince.
table.
You know, with
I'm
all the
joking,
millions
I'm
of dollars
joking.
you're making, Vince, I
I'm
know
joking,
you're
I'm
you're
joking.
gonna kick us
I
down
wish
some
I
chairs,
was
right?
making millions of dollars. I'd be investing in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, right.
If there's somebody out there that wants to donate some chairs,
Well, isn't that event?
Donate some
Yeah,
chairs.
right.
you know.
Send it to our PO box.
Hey,
Send
maybe
it to
there's
this
a
address.
maybe there's a furniture company out there that likes to talk about aliens drinking beer, farting, and conspiracy theories. And why don't you sponsor us and send us some
Vince's show is
chairs?
about securing the bag and scoring pogs. Do you guys know what pogs are?
Oh yeah,
What's
those
a pog?
fucking things that
No,
you.
not pogs like P-O-G-S.
Oh
Pogs like P-A-W-G-S. Do you know what that is?
no,
You don't
what
know
is that?
Do you know what that is?
Testify, brother.
Well, I'm not going to say it. You guys can look it up later. You guys can
Oh,
look it up.
is it that good?
It means fat ass white girl.
A pog?
A pog, yeah.
Is that like fat, like PHAT?
Like fat ass white girl. That's what it means.
Pog. Oh,
Pog.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so it's kind of like what is it they
MAGA
call it?
pogs.
Basically, most
BBW?
pretty much any suburban housewife who's got pupped out 4 pups.
I guess even them, some of them though, it's sort of like a lot of this, I've seen a lot of them who are pretty flat in the back, honestly.
Yeah, square booty. Okay, so what about this whole Trump thing? What's Trump doing right now? What's he doing?
What is he doing? He's
Yeah.
he's waiting in the weeds right now. He's waiting to strike. He was waiting to see if he was going to get what was going to happen with the conviction in the Senate, and I think we all knew that wasn't going to work, right? They weren't going to have enough votes to convict him in the Senate. And he came out and he gave a statement actually yesterday. He slammed Mitch McConnell. He slammed establishment Republicans, and he basically said that Republicans, they don't want to win. They're too focused. All they want to do is lose and sort of like kick the can down the road, which is absolutely true, by the way. While the Democrats, meanwhile, stick together and win. Like you would never see, talking about the Capitol riot, you would never see like the Democrats come out and condemn their own for rioting. You never see the Democrats come out and condemn like Antifa or Black Lives Matter. In fact, they offered to pay the bail of a lot of Black Lives Matter rioters. Kamala Harris tweeted out a link once to pay for the bail of a lot of the Black Lives Matter rioters who were like burning down businesses and blowing up ATMs and shit like that.
No kidding.
And so, yeah. You didn't know that happened? Like, there were 50 ATMs in Philadelphia that were blown up by dynamite by Black Lives Matter rioters. 50 ATM.
I didn't see that on the news.
Were they trying to
Look it up, Jamie.
Hey, I got a question. Were they trying to break black people out of the ATM machines, or
No,
what
they
was
were
the
trying to
story
get
there?
the money out of the ATM machines, and they
Oh, okay,
also
yeah,
broke into
Eric.
like shoe stores to get like steal Air Jordans.
They're trying to
and
take all the
burn
root
down
beer.
Were
yeah.
there black people locked up in the closet at the footwear stores, and they were trying to free them?
Trying to get all the Air Jordans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were Air Jordans in there. That's what they were going after.
I
And
mean-
she like tweeted out a link to pay for the bail of the Black Lives Matter rioters. So the point I'm trying to make is that the Democrats would never do anything what the Republicans are doing. They're about like winning and sticking together, and this is the reason why Republicans are like constantly losing. And so this was the statement that Trump gave after the conviction in the Senate failed, and he was supposed to be on OANN and Newsmax tonight. I don't know if that happened, but I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of Trump coming soon, and especially leading up to 2022 and the election then. So
So
see happens.
what's he gonna do? Is he gonna come out and try to shake it up politically, or is he just? What do you
Yeah,
think
no,
he's
I
gonna
think
do?
he's certainly going to be involved in politics in some form or another in 2022. He might even run again in 2024. A lot of people say that he's going to be too old, and honestly, I mean, I kind of believe this too. But if you look at Trump, I mean, and you look at Trump compared to like Obama in his first 4 years, Obama really aged in his first 4 years. A lot of presidents age.
Yeah, they sure do.
In their first 4 years, Trump doesn't look like he's aged one bit, and he's got more energy. Like, I'm sure even in 4 years from now, he's going to have enough energy to go to 5 rallies in a day.
Well,
you know, like he did
he's
up to the
functioned at
election.
such a high level
I mean,
for
he's
so
so
long.
high energy all the time, yeah. And so he could run
yeah.
again. But I think that, leading up to 2022, 2024, he's probably going to be involved in a way that's like maybe some PACs, maybe social media. I don't know. Like, in some way or another, he's going to be involved. He's
Well,
not
I
just
don't
going
think
to
he's gonna make
go away.
the run for president at this point.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, after everything that's happened, do you think everybody would want to vote for him again? That was a supporter of his.
Well, see, that's the thing. Oh, yeah. Like, he still has a high approval rating in the Republican Party. Like, we're talking like 90+%. 80% of the Republicans believe that the election was stolen. I mean, they even
Can
admitted
you
that
say
the
more
election
about
was stolen.
that? What I mean, I've read so much stuff about the election being stolen and fake ballots and this and that and the other.
Well, a lot of it's like misinformation. A lot of it is like misdirection. I would say
course.
a lot of it is like
There's,
poisoning
there's
the well.
always that. There's always that
Right.
going on in politics.
But a lot of it is true. So there was a recent Time magazine article that came out where they basically said, and they basically admitted it. And I wish you guys had a screen here where you can pull this stuff up. Maybe
You
soon
can.
you will.
Jamie,
Yeah, Jamie. Yeah,
get us a screen.
get the skunk over here.
Eric,
Do you have a screen, or can you pull it up on the screen?
Yeah,
On
There,
this one?
there was
Yeah,
a.
we can pull it up
well, I
right
can
now.
pull it up on my phone actually. Probably.
no, dude, you can look it up. Just tell them where to look.
Well, I'd rather
Well,
just
yeah,
see
let's
the
see.
chat. I could just look it up on my phone right now. But there was
Wait, whose phone is this on here?
It's my phone.
Oh, that's yours.
Yeah.
And you're looking at which chat?
The main chat, I guess.
Our chat?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's on right now. So look, good.
who's talking shit?
Nobody.
what is maybe can you link in your live chat? Maybe someone can link it in the live chat, the Time magazine article that I'm talking about. I can't believe you didn't see this.
Somebody do it now.
But there was a Time magazine article that came out. And basically what this Time magazine, let me see if I can find it here. Maybe you can't even post links in the live chat. We'll see. But Time magazine, I can't remember what it was called. What was the title of the Time magazine article? Oh, you know what? I think I have. I think I have it on my Telegram channel. Admitting.
Edward loves Pogs. So do we.
Do you like Pog?
Thanks,
Now
man.
that we know what they are.
Hey, I switched over to Big Boy beer. I couldn't help it. I'm not really sober yet.
You're weak.
You're doing a good
Oh,
job.
here it
Jorge.
is. I found it here.
Okay,
Here
cool.
it is.
All right.
Yeah, well,
I
it
think
says
I found it. Here it
Eric is too loud and Vince isn't. You
Yeah,
heard that,
I
Eric?
have to move. I have to move closer to.
That's
the
because I
mic.
used to be a rock star. Damn it.
Really?
Yeah.
So
really.
here's
in
the,
my own mind.
Here's the article right here. It says the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. And in this article, they go on to say that there was a bunch of activists, the AFL-CIO, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, a bunch of mega corporations, a bunch of Black Lives Matter leaders, and all sorts of other political NGOs and so forth that got together to fortify the 2020 election. They go on to say that Trump, they say in a way, Trump was right.
there was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests, so this elite cabal of people, which they call it themselves, were able to curtail the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. And what they go on to say was that they got together to get states, particularly swing states, to change their election rules right before the election in order to make it to make mail-in ballots more ubiquitous and set up things like unmanned drop boxes and also allow for people to skip the verification process on these mail-in ballots. And what they go on to say in this article, you should read this article, they go on to say is that they didn't do this to rig the election. They did this to, quote-unquote, fortify the election. They got states right before the election to change their election rules to allow for easier mail-in ballots, which even the New York Times argues and says is twice as likely to be frauded, and to get these states to set up unmanned drop boxes so that people can just drop off their mail-in ballots, and to also get people to register as indefinitely confined, which, if you don't know what indefinitely confined is, it means
Can't leave the house?
that you can't leave the house, but also you're registered as indefinitely confined. You can't leave the house, and so therefore you skip all the verification processes that you need to go through to verify that you are legally allowed to vote. And this was like on top of a variety of other things that happened during the election as well. But this elite cabal of people, as it goes on to say in this Time magazine article, got these states to do this right before the election, but they didn't do it to rig the election. They did it to fortify the election. This is what they're saying. And so it's true that that in these swing states you had, hundreds of unmanned drop boxes set up, which are illegal in these states. They violate their own state law. They also violate the Equal Protections Clause of the Constitution because they were set up in only Democrat strongholds, like in Milwaukee. They were set up in like Detroit and things like this. And then also...
Okay, wait. Let me make sure I got that straight. So you're saying that a lot of these alterations of rules happened
right
in
before
areas,
the election.
Right, but you were saying that they were happening in areas that were predominantly Democratic constituency?
No, in the swing states, period, in general. In like Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania.
But couldn't that benefit anybody, really? Couldn't it benefit either a Democratic or a Republican candidate in either way? If it's ambiguous and there's...
No, because they knew that, mail-in ballots were more likely going to favor the Democrats. And so if you had unmanned drop boxes, and here's the thing, like in Wisconsin, the unmanned drop boxes were only set up in Democrat strongholds within Wisconsin, right? So you had
so there was some skewing going on there,
right? Like you know how the old mailboxes, you could walk up to them, you could just drop off your mail there and have it mailed out. Though that was basically what was happening there. And unmanned or manned drop boxes itself for ballots are illegal according to Wisconsin state law. They violate Wisconsin state law. Also, the fact that they were set up in only Democrat strongholds was a violation of the Equal Protections Clause of the Constitution. And then you had all these states who changed their election rules right before the election with COVID as a pretext without the approval of the state legislature, who is the only sole body that gets to dictate how the elections are conducted. That, in and of itself, was a violation of the Electors Clause, which the founders of the country argue is the most important clause of the Constitution. And so the fact that they're admitting that they had this elite cabal of mega corporations and political activists and Black Lives Matter leaders and everyone else getting together to get these states to change these rules, admitting that they engaged in illegal activities and no one's arrested, and everyone's denying that there's evidence out there that suggests the election was stolen, is crazy. That is just absolutely insane to me. Obviously, Joe Biden, who didn't campaign at all, who couldn't get 20 people to show up to a rally, did not get 80 million people to vote for him.
Well, okay,
I don't think
so let me
anyone
ask
who's
you a question
intelligent thinks that that's true.
Okay, so let's say that's true, that there's all this salt and peppering of drop boxes, mail mail
Yeah.
ballot boxes going on all over the neighborhood. So if that's going to skew an election one way or another, how would that happen? Because now you have to assume that there's going to be 10,000 or 20,000 or however many thousands of people that are double dipping in the voting system, right?
Yeah, and
Okay, so how would that happen? So they would get a home ballot and they would fill it all out and then they go drop it off and then they would go to their local voting center and vote again?
Well, so in some states, it just depends on what state you're talking about here. And I've dug into this data like nonstop on my show. We've been over all this stuff on my show. Most of the fraud happened with ballot harvesting and ballot stuffing. Ballot harvesting is where you go to like a nursing home facility or something like that, and you get these old people to turn over their ballots so that you can vote for them. Now, in some states, that's legal. In some states, you can ballot harvest. In Minnesota, you can ballot harvest up to 3 ballots. You can go to 3 people and get up to 3 people to give you their ballots, and then you can harvest those ballots and vote for those people.
Okay.
So a lot of the fraud happened with ballot harvesting and ballot stuffing.
I mean, how many numbers are we talking about?
We're talking about hundreds of thousands. We're talking about hundreds of thousands.
Like hundreds of thousands in a city, or hundreds of thousands in a state?
In a state. Hundreds of thousands in a state. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
That's how real this is. And when you look at like the forensic data analysis that has been done on this by economists, by experts who, of course, get shut out by social media and don't get allowed to speak, are not allowed to speak, they have determined that the results of the vote tallies, someone's opening, they have determined that the
Special
results,
delivery.
What just happened? How'd that happen?
Hold on a second.
Oh,
we have to
the
take
kiddo.
a
It's the
quick
kitty.
station identification break
Okay.
because this cute girl is coming over.
She's coming over with
You
some Cocoa
would.
Puffs.
What she got? What she got?
Brownie.
Brownies.
Wait.
fresh.
Come here and say hi.
I'm sorry, I forgot
Say hi.
I requested these for us.
Showerhead. This is my daughter Rachel. She made us a bunch of brownies. She wanted to make sure we had them. Here you go, buddy. And there's
I'm
nothing,
okay on the
nothing weird in
brownies.
there.
But
I'll
go,
have
man.
one.
I can't. I'm not supposed to.
Thanks, babe. Hey, can you close the door?
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh my. All right, here, I'll close it.
Okay, that was classic.
Yeah, we're in the garage, everybody. for
Yeah,
those of you who
hey,
don't
what's
know.
up? This is my studio garage. What's up? One more time, and then you got it. It had to go back up.
Something's wrong.
Okay.
There we go.
Hey, all right,
right, we're
okay,
good.
okay.
We're
Thanks
All
a
right.
lot, Rachel.
Look at the blood or the tomato paste or
some
tomato juice flowing in
wholesome-
the background. It's like the sound of the garage, you know.
Some wholesome content right there. His daughter brings us brownies. Very wholesome. Very wholesome content here. But what I was saying was that,
Brownie, please.
so if you look at the forensic data analysis that has been done, or analyses that has been done on the election vote tally data, it's statistically impossible to return the results that we did after election night. So let me give you an example. So in Wisconsin, in Georgia, and in Michigan, on election day, Republicans were leading in mail-in ballots returned, mail-in ballots requested, and early in-person ballots returned. Republicans were leading by a few percentage points. Now, after election day, of course, in the dead of night while everyone was sleeping, after they told us that they stopped counting the votes, by the way, after election day, we saw the mail-in ballots come in at like a 4-to-1 ratio for Joe Biden. And what forensic data scientists have concluded on this is that the likelihood of that happening is like flipping a coin 200,000 times and landing on heads 200,000 times in a row. So what was happening was you had ballot stuffing going on, you had ballot harvesting going on, and then also you had a lot of these shenanigans that were happening where you had election workers who turned in sworn affidavits in court saying that they were forced to backdate hundreds of thousands of ballots in states like Michigan, in states like Wisconsin, and in other swing states across the country. You also had them admit that they were forced to process ballots that were late, that were returned after the deadline. and process ballots that didn't have information that was necessary, like are mandatory, like signatures, addresses in some cases, birth dates, and things like this. And then you had, like in some states, like in Nevada, you had people, thousands of people, who voted more than once, who voted either under a maiden name and then voted under their married name. And a lot of this was because of the ballot harvesting that happened
Okay,
as well.
so now I got a big question for
The
you.
election
okay?
was rigged.
All right.
Trump won. Okay, Trump won the election.
all right.
Weren't they
so
also saying that people who had already been dead were also?
In in Detroit, there were 95, and this is confirmed, by the way. Like, this is not like when I talk about these things, I'm talking about raw data, like scientific analysis. I'm talking about things that are like undeniable here, not like conspiracy theory or anything like that. We're talking about numbers. In Detroit, there were 9,500 people who were registered to vote. Apparently, a couple of thousand of those returned a ballot. Now, that's like not a big dent. Of course, that doesn't cause like a huge effect.
these are people that are deceased.
Right, we're talking about people that are deceased, but it's not like literally people who are dead who are like coming back from the grave and voting. These are people who are using their names.
Okay, so
to
more
put them
more
into the PDF
evidence for
file.
this
Right.
fraud contribution. But
Right.
here's the question I have. Okay, and thank you, by the way, for sharing that in-depth analysis of why the elections were skewed or could have been skewed or whatever the case is. Why was there such an effort to get Joe Biden into office? Why that effort? What's the end game there?
Well, I mean, he's like, obviously, you look at the people who support him, you look at the groups that support him, you look at the mega corporations that support him. I mean, he's going to serve the special interest. He's going to serve every special interest group. I mean, if we look at what's going on right now already in parts of the Middle East, you know, we're probably looking forward to, in the very near future, in probably this year, we're probably looking forward to another regime change war, possibly in Syria. We're probably looking forward to a regime change war in Iran. There's probably something like that that's going to happen.
Which we
there.
really
Or like a
didn't see
color
any
revolution.
of that during Trump's
Trump, right? He was not
candidacy,
playing.
right? He wasn't playing any of those games.
He wasn't
right?
playing any of those games in terms of like another new war, and he wasn't towing the line, right? And so
Okay, so
in
this
lot
is a
of ways, they
prediction
had to
right
get rid
here.
of him.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I keep interrupting you. So this is a prediction right here. You're saying we're going to see
a regime change
a
war.
regime change
Yeah.
war somewhere in the Middle East,
In Syria,
possibly
yeah.
Syria. Okay, you heard
Maybe
it.
Iran, yeah.
You heard it here first. Or
Also, I mean, it's not just like the special interest groups in terms of like foreign lobbies and foreign wars and the military-industrial complex. I mean, we're just
I was gonna
talking
say
about, you know, we're talking about everything from. I mean, just look at who was involved in that Time Magazine article, the AFL-CIO, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. He's pro-mass immigration, which overwhelmingly affects and suppresses the wages of American workers. And so also it allows for corporations to turn a higher profit. So this is another big one, right? So he's super pro-mass immigration. In fact, there was a group of...
Like illegal immigration or just
he's
immigration
pro
period?
mass immigration, period. Mass immigration, period.
So as
whether
long
it
as
be
there's a labor
legal
force
or
that's
illegal,
cheap, that's-
as long as there's a constant flooding of the labor pool, there's going to be a cheaper labor force, and then corporations are going to be able to turn a higher profit, and he's going to go along with that. There was a story just recently in the Washington Post which talked about how Joe Biden stopped after pressure from activist groups. He stopped the deportation of several African migrants who were like violent criminals because it was Black History Month. So, you know, this is the type of guy that they have. This is the type of guy that we have in office right now.
Okay, so a
And-
criminal record or a violent history wouldn't come forward as being important information. They would all be about how the media skews it to say, "Hey, here's these guys, and
it's just,
they're black, and they shouldn't be
Black History
deported,"
Month,
and that's
right.
Damn.
Well, are we really that fucked up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the country's fuck. You haven't noticed? Like we're it's the suicide of a superpower. If there's any book, there's a lot of books I can
Decline
recommend.
of Western civilization.
You should read Suicide of a Superpower by Patrick Buchanan. It's a great book.
Okay.
That's one of the books I recommend.
Okay, so going and thanks for that recommendation. So going back to why Biden. So, I mean there's power struggles, right? At the top level, at the elite level,
Right.
there's always power struggles, right? This power against that power. We like to think that there's actually some big unified universal agenda, you know, that is all working together. But it seems like they're splintered too, right? So Biden represents what, like an old world order
No, he represents the New World Order.
he is the New World.
Yeah, he
I thought-
represents the New World Order. Trump was the Old World Order. Trump was, his thing was make America great again, right? Trump was, and honestly, I mean, Trump was, well, in some ways, he was against like the Old World Order in terms of like trade and how things were functioning, like the status quo, right? He was against the status quo in Washington, D.C. Someone puts it very simply here in the chat. Trump could be influenced but not directly controlled. Or wait, that wasn't the one. Trump can't be controlled. He was a bull in a china shop atop the ivory tower, and they couldn't handle it for a single day more. I mean, that's exactly
That
right,
makes
right? They
sense.
couldn't control, like they couldn't predict what he was going to do. Like there were stories out there from like the AP and the New York Times that said that Trump, they lied to Trump about how many troops were in parts of the Middle East. They lied to people in his administration, lied to Trump about how many troops were there because he was constantly clamoring on about pulling troops out of certain regions, and they couldn't have that. Like, that's just one thing, right? That's just one thing. But they couldn't control him on a lot of things. They didn't know which direction he was going to go. He's completely unpredictable.
And there's that power struggle I'm talking about.
Power struggle. And he wasn't supposed to win in 2016 either. They rigged the election in 2016 too. Like, if you look at the irregularities in Michigan and some of these swing states in 2016, like, we're talking about, in some cases, even higher irregularities in 2016 than there were in 2020. In 2020, there were 3,000 precincts in the state of Michigan that reported anywhere from a 90% voter turnout rate to a 700% voter turnout rate, which is obviously statistically impossible.
Okay, so they struck out the first time and they hit a home run the second time.
They hit out, but they needed more time the second time.
Yeah, so
and
they developed their strategy.
No, but so in comes what? To get more time to count the votes, in comes what? In comes coronavirus, right? So that was also used as a tool to remove the threat to the
but maybe not
American
like
regime.
Maybe
to the
not
system.
like the only tool, but like just like anything else, you always utilize the tools that are at your hands to make the best of the
Right.
situation or the agenda you're trying to
Coronavirus
push.
is a big part of that too, though.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, but I guess my point is, so you have Biden, who you're saying is a new world order, but isn't it really an old world order because the other the Clintons and the that whole regime.
Yeah, technically. True,
That's
right.
kind of an old world order in a way because that's what we've been operating on. It's this special interest and foreign.
Yeah, the status quo.
The status quo of foreign
the
relationships
right.
and the money generating and the military complex and all that stuff. So in a way, to me, Trump was kind of like a new world order. It's like, no, I'm still at the top and I'm still an elitist and I'm still this guy who has billions of dollars and I have money invested in just about as much crap as these guys have that's bad and doing bad things and isn't necessarily concerned about who they're stepping on. So there it is. There's the power struggle. So it's almost seemed to me that Trump was a new world order, but it just they weren't ready for that.
Yeah, true. No, 100%. I think that, like I said before, I mean, he was completely uncontrollable. Like, he couldn't be controlled, and this was a problem for them. And he was a threat to the system. And his movement is an even bigger threat to the system than Trump himself. And this is precisely the reason why you see this major crackdown on the Trump movement and Trump supporters right now. There was a guy who got arrested for sharing a meme. Did you hear about that?
No.
There's a guy, Ricky Vaughn. That's his alias. You should look it up. He got arrested recently for a meme that he shared on his Twitter page. You look it up, Ricky Vaughn. VAUGN. He got, or GHN. Yeah, there it is. He got arrested for sharing a meme back in 2015. He was just arrested a couple of days ago. And using the Capitol riot as a pretext, they arrested him. And now he's facing 10 years in prison for a meme that he shared on social media. They said that the meme that he shared interfered with the election back in 2016.
The Florida man.
That's
Florida man.
And this was like not a political activist or who was
No, he was. So in 2015, he
Okay.
he had like one of the most influential Twitter accounts in terms of like the election. He
All
was a
right,
big
so
Trump
somebody
supporter.
already had their eyes on him.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't like,
Yeah,
obviously
right.
they were super upset about what happened in 2016 because Trump wasn't supposed to win in 2016. And so using the January 6th Capitol siege as a pretext, they arrested Ricky Vaughn for a meme that he posted back in 2015. The meme, it was like I remember this meme vividly. It said, and it wasn't a meme that he created either. He just tweeted it out. And it said, if you want to vote, for Hillary. You don't have to wait in line. Text Hillary Clinton to 555-379 or something like that. And it was basically making fun of, or trying to make fun of, Democrat voters, saying that they were stupid. And so what they said was that this was he interfered in the election, and so they arrested him, and now he's facing 10 years in prison for sharing this meme.
Bit
Now,
extreme.
Is it this one?
of course it's extreme. Yeah, that was the meme. That's the meme he shared online.
It says
And
a
so,
borderline.
yeah, and he was arrested for that just recently. This was 5 years ago.
Okay, but
Just
now
5 years ago.
How did that come out? Did that come out as like a massively spread ad, or was it just on a
No,
website?
it was just
or
on
what?
his Twitter
Just went
account.
viral.
He just tweeted it,
And it went viral.
and it went viral. And they arrested him 3 weeks ago or something like that.
I mean, I could see why it could interfere, but
No, it's completely politically
that's
targeted.
Kind
It's
of pushing it, kind
Yeah.
of pushing your luck. I mean, hey, look,
Yeah.
it's like,
Hillary.
hey,
No,
look,
but here's the thing. If
I
you
stuck
make
my
excuses
dick
for
out on the
that-
table and they cut it off.
No, but here's the
well,
thing.
why'd you put your dick out on the
But
table?
here's the thing. Like, how many memes do you see shared by? Well, you guys are sort of like normies, so you're not like online. You don't see what goes on. But there are so many other examples.
Wait, what was that term? Normie?
Normie. Like you guys are normies. Like you're not really immersed in like the news.
Deeply,
Like
deeply
the
entrenched
news,
in
yeah,
the
like deeply entrenched in
BS.
the news, like I am, right?
Nah,
And
we're more into looking up aliens and if they poop.
Right, I get it. I've been on
Joking.
the podcast before. But here's the thing. I mean, there are so many examples, like on the left side of the spectrum, of people doing the exact same thing who are not arrested. The reason why they arrested him it's not for the meme. The reason why they arrested him is because, like I said, they are afraid of the Trump movement more than Trump himself. The Trump movement is a big threat to the system. That's the reason why you see them going after Trump supporters right now. Even people who weren't even in the Capitol building. Like, if they can't get them arrested, they're putting their face on, mainstream media, and they're getting them fired from their jobs. There have been tens of thousands of people who have been fired from their jobs simply because they attended Trump's speech. They weren't even inside the Capitol building. They attended Trump's speech. They've been fired from their jobs. So if they can't get them arrested or surveilled by the FBI, of which there are tens of thousands of Trump supporters right now being surveilled by the FBI without warrants, then they're going to ruin their lives using big media, which they also control, to destroy their lives and destroy their livelihoods
Yeah, and that's
destroy their
unfortunate.
families' lives. It's not just unfortunate. They're specifically targeting the Trump movement because it's a threat to the system.
Yeah.
Now, and the same goes for like any other thing that's a threat.
What I'm saying
to
is
the system.
unfortunate it being stuck in the crossfire of the BS fucking political system of balance and counterbalance between two evil motherfuckers.
Yeah. And so, well, it's just like with anything else that's a threat to the system, or a threat to their like financial status, right? Like anti-shutdown protests, right? The reason why they come out and they say that the anti-shutdown protests are super spreaders and they're dangerous and they, crack down on the anti-shutdown protests is because it's a threat to the system. They don't do the same thing for like Black Lives Matter protests. They say that Black Lives Matter protests did not spread the coronavirus. That in fact they slowed the spread of the coronavirus. Right? They applaud. You have these healthcare.
And where are you reading this?
Oh, dude, it's all over the place, man.
Okay.
It's all over the place. We'll pull it up. I wish we had a screen that we could pull stuff
Well,
up.
Damn it,
who's,
Jamie.
who's
Well,
phone
we're
is
looking
this?
at the
Oh,
comment
this is
feed.
the live chat. I can pull it up on my phone.
Well, can we switch that one to switch that to your live chat and do that so we can pull up stuff on the phone because it's fed on the screen and I can show it.
yeah, I just don't know if
Well,
I
it's
can.
up to Vince if he wants to.
Yeah, go ahead.
But whose phone
Yeah.
is this?
That's mine. Just take
This
it out.
is connected to the screen.
Yeah, you can just unplug this and
Oh,
then
yeah.
plug it into your phone.
No, don't do that. Don't do that because
No?
then it might mess some things up. What's
So then
better
what
is
do
if
you-
you pull up this chat on your phone so you can see what's going
Yeah, that's
on,
how I have it.
and then take this one and start doing all the thumbing around that you want to do and pull up.
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll pull it up right now.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready for you, baby. I'm ready. I want to see some of these articles since we're.
Yeah.
I should just
always
bring
suddenly
them. I
showing
should be
interest.
like Alex Jones and just bring them all printed out for you guys.
No, don't do that.
This is from the Colorado Sun. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning outlet. It says Black Lives Matter protests may have slowed overall spread of coronavirus in Denver and other cities. Also, there's a New York Times article.
While you look that up, we'll. All right, so Vince is going to show us these. That's a pretty crazy statement. How could a gathering like that slow?
Okay, so here's a New
spread?
York Times article. So
Okay.
when we asked New York Times, because they say the anti-shutdown protests are dangerous, right? They're dangerous. They're super spreaders of COVID-19. When you ask the New York Times, then are all protests dangerous? It says what experts say may depend on who's protesting what. Right? So
Yeah,
the,
right.
the anti-shutdown protests and the Trump protests or the Trump rallies, those are super spreaders of the virus. But when
Okay,
it
so
comes to
scroll
like
down.
the
Is
Black
that
Lives
what this
Matter
article is saying?
protests. Yeah, so it says
Okay.
public health experts decried the anti-lockdown protests as dangerous gatherings in a pandemic. Health experts seem comfortable doing so now that the marches are against racism. So as long as they're against racism, and there was another thing too, is when if you look at like the
So
health,
is that like positive COVID that they're spreading? That's like negating the negative COVID? Is that the logic there? I'm joking. It's
okay,
obviously bullshit.
I was like, what the fuck?
Come on, man. You got to have a sense of humor in all this shit because it's so dark and evil, you know?
so
Everything's
if you
dark
look
and
at there's a CNN article. I'm
No,
looking
you're
for
dark and evil.
specifically. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Here's CNN. Black Lives Matter protests have not led to a spike in coronavirus cases, research says. The point I'm trying to make is that, you're not going to find a mainstream article.
Oh, it's the old one.
You're not going to find a mainstream article that suggests that the Black Lives Matter protests have spread coronavirus. You're not going to find a mainstream article that suggests that the Antifa riots have spread coronavirus. The reason for this is because those movements are of the system. They're
Yeah,
of
no, I
the
understand what
American
you're saying.
regime. And in a couple of ways. So like the Black Lives Matter Foundation, they get millions of dollars funneled in from like mega corporations. We saw it, right, all throughout the Black Lives Matter protest after George Floyd's death. You had like Chevron and Nike and all these corporations like funneling billions of dollars into the Black Lives Matter Foundation. And then they funnel millions of dollars out of the Black Lives Matter Foundation to like Democratic candidates. So it's basically like a slush fund, right? It's like a slush fund, but it's also politically useful because they can use that momentum that they create from bullshit, right? Bullshit narrative to for the election. And this is something that Time Magazine article admitted as well. And so they're of the system. They are created by the system, and this is the reason why they're not criticized. Now, the anti-shutdown protests and like the Trump rallies, these movements are a threat to the system, especially like the anti-shutdown protests, because during this shutdown, billionaires and the billionaire class has made over $10 trillion in wealth during the shutdown, while their competition has been cut off at the knees. And so the anti-shutdown protests, they had to nip that in the bud very quickly because that was deeply a threat to the system, and especially the financial well-being of the people who control the system, right?
So
The corporate
so
system.
what's the answer? So Trump was in there for a while, but obviously he didn't last because he got bamboozled out. All right, okay. So what's the answer? What's going to happen? What's the solution to fight this system? What's going to happen?
What do the next 4 years look like?
Oh, that's two questions.
I don't know, but I do want to grab my other LaCroix. I already
Oh,
went
here, I'll
through.
get it
I
for you.
already went through a whole LaCroix.
Oh my God, you're
And
such
I go through
such an
three every
abuser.
show. I am. If this was beer, I'd be drunk right now. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. All right. So what was the question now?
There's two. What's the next 4 years going to hold? And second, if we're fighting a system that's just going to exploit and lie and be a detriment to the common people, what's the solution?
What? Oh shit! My phone's cracked. I didn't even notice that. What's the solution to what? To fighting the system?
Yeah.
Or what's the solution to? Well, I mean, it just depends on exactly what you mean. So I would say, like,
Can you vote with your dollar? Can you protest in some way that actually is not going to get you thrown in jail or prosecuted or crucified or?
I don't think
I
so.
support anything that is a threat to the system, anything that does damage to the system. This is this is one of the biggest reasons why I supported the idea of pardoning someone like a Julian Assange or pardoning someone like an Edward Snowden or something like this, because they did damage to the system in a lot of ways, especially Julian Assange during the 2016 and the lead up to the 2016 election with WikiLeaks and what came out with that. You can also, anti-shutdown, like things like this, anything that does damage to the system, I'm going to support. anything that does damage to the system of the American regime specifically, I'm going to support. And there's a lot of ways that you can do this. A lot of people thought that the whole Wall Street bets movement was like doing damage to the system. It turns out in the end wasn't really effective, or it didn't really affect them in the way that they thought that it did. But for a moment there, they were pretty worried about what was happening there in Wall. I mean, they said that they could have literally crashed the stock market. And so, like, I'm all on board with anything that the system criticizes, right? And this is really how you know, like, what is a threat to the system and what's not. You know that Antifa is not a threat to the system, right? Because they're not criticized by any of these major institutions, by corporations, by big media, or anything. Any of the institutions that the system is in control of. You know that Black Lives Matter is not a threat to the system because they're not criticized. When you look at, like, the anti-shutdown protest or Trump himself, the Trump movement, Trump rallies, things like this, you know, you look at the way that the media reacts to that. You look at the way that the establishment reacts to that. And they react in a way that tells you that these are things that are a threat to the system. So I'm going to support anything that does damage to the system and brings the system crumbling down.
No. Okay. What is there a way to vote with your dollar? Are there like products out there or services out there that you can support that maybe are, you know, like maybe holistic foods or environmentally conscious companies or nonprofit organizations or anything like that that are not part of that? Because I would imagine that a lot of this is funded by major corporations, right?
I mean, you know, a lot of people have this idea that you're going to do damage to this billion-dollar corporation by boycotting them or getting, you know, a bunch of people to boycott them. I mean, they tried to do this with Netflix. There was a big cancel Netflix thing that happened on Twitter. It was trending on Twitter for a few days. It was because of the whole Cuties thing. I don't know if you remember this or not. Do you know what I'm talking about? The whole Cuties thing where they had a movie that depicted 11-year-old girls as, you know, there was a lot of parts. I mean, not just cheerleaders. Right. There were a lot of parts where they like had exposed breasts of these kids and stuff like that. It was
11-year-olds?
Like, really bad. Yeah, it was really bad. And some politicians even called for like the like legal repercussions to people at Netflix, and a lot of people wanted to cancel Netflix, and there's a big trend. Even like people who are completely apolitical jumped on board with this. Netflix isn't suffering because of it. The same thing happened
you
with
have
Nike.
enough money, and you can kind of make
it's
problems
just not
go away.
the same thing with Twitter. Like everyone left. There was millions of people, tens of millions of people who left Twitter because Trump was kicked off of Twitter. And that's another thing. Like if you're a threat to the system and you're an enemy to them, they're gonna cut your line of communication. That's like first. That's first in war, right? They're gonna cut your line of communication to your base, to your supporters, to your soldiers, as you would say. But after they took Trump off Twitter, tens of millions of people left Twitter. And a lot of people were saying, well, if we just leave Twitter, they're gonna come crashing down. Well, guess what? Their stock soared to $70 or something like that per share. Jack Dorsey made another $1 billion during the lockdown, you know. And so, you know, these sorts of things are not really going to threaten these companies.
Hey, you know what, man? Did you ever see that movie They Live?
They Live. I haven't seen that. No.
Okay, so you want to pull up They Live? You've seen They Live, haven't you?
Parts of it.
Dude. Okay.
What did you want to point out in the live chat here?
Somebody had asked
Martin
who runs
Shkreli?
Antifa.
Huh?
I mean, I don't know if it's one particular person. I know that you know people like George Soros and many others are involved in like the funding of Antifa, but I don't know. It's not like one single person who runs Antifa.
Are you pulling up They Live?
What was the movie?
They Live. Yeah. Okay. So this was a alien type movie that came out in the early 90s.
Are you getting vaccinated?
Hell no, I'm not getting vaccinated. Are you kidding me? That vaccine, that vaccine was rushed through. This is a vaccine.
No, I will not be getting that
we'll
either.
keep going. All right, go ahead, John.
Okay, so here it is. Yeah, this John Carpenter did that movie, directed that movie Starman too, right? So They Live. This is a story about the awareness and awakening that's occurring with these guys. They're construction workers. Mm-hmm. One of them's Roddy Piper, old wrestler from back in the 20, 30 years ago.
Yep.
But they I don't know if I want to ruin it or not, but
just say spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. They discover that the whole world is under control of this alien species from wherever the hell they are.
Yeah.
And they have concocted this elaborate cover up to make it so you can't see that they are there. And
They're in
there's some-
disguise.
yeah, they're in
as humans.
disguise. Yes. So, and they're running the whole fucking show. So that makes me think of like the system that you're fighting against. The Democrats, the big corporations, and all that stuff. To me, it's like this movie They Live. It's almost like the Matrix in a way. You can't see your prison, you can't smell it, you can't touch it. You're in it, and you try to wake up from it, but it keeps trying to grab you and bring you back down again. So this movie They Live is kind of based on that premise. It's like there's a secret majority society that's just
Yeah, and a lot of
Secret
people are in
cabal.
on it.
Yeah.
A lot of rich
Yeah.
people are in
A
on
secret
it.
Yes.
cabal of transnational,
it's the
cosmopolitan, global.
basically the ruling class.
The ruling class.
The ruling
that
class.
is.
So, when I hear you talk about Biden, I hear you talk about Trump, and I hear you talk about all these other political people and all this news that's being written about being tried to skewed in favor of, hey, this, Antifa's not going to be listed as a COVID spreader and and all this disinformation that's going on. To me, when I hear all that stuff and you say, hey, you should be reading all this and connected to all this, I don't want to connect to all of it because I know it's all bullshit. And I know it's a very simple formula, and that formula is the ruling class will always have the power. They will always be in control. They will find a way to work it. Even when everyone else is losing, they're winning. They're finding a way to make money. They're finding a way to keep you enslaved. They're finding a way to control the narrative. They're doing all of that stuff. And it's in every level. It's in the corporations. It's in the those that own land and resources. It's in the politics. It's everywhere. And it's a big conglomerate of old money and old families and people who've been around for, thousands of years. It's certainly many centuries. And it's just getting passed down and passed down and passed down and passed down, and they run the show, and that's just all there is to it. So that's why I ask you. I'm like, hey, well, what's the real solution to get the aliens out of control? What
To get the lizard people.
the
out of
lizard
control.
people? Yeah, exactly, right? What's the real opportunity to do that?
Well, I mean, like I said, anything you support anything that's a threat to this. You support anything that they're afraid of, right? And
But
you can see the
let me
things
ask
that
you
they're
this:
afraid of.
how much of a fight against that system was Trump really?
I think it was a bit. I think here's the thing.
Maybe more than not, but yet
definitely
how
more than not.
wealthy
There-
was this guy? I mean, how
There's
wealthy
a lot
is
of things
Trump?
that he could have done, right? There's a
Yeah,
lot of things that he
yes.
could have done that would have done major damage to the system. And for a lot of his presidency, I mean, he failed. There was a lot of missed opportunities during his presidency.
But how's he gonna
But-
put the kibosh on the hundreds of billions of dollars of tied up assets and relationships that he has at that high echelon level? How's he gonna turn his back on all of that to really
Well,
make
you look
a
at the
difference?
major thing, the major ways in which they are looting and pillaging the country right now. In the major ways
Well, yeah,
that they're looting
so
and
so
pillaging
he's
the
so
country.
okay. So he went after that. I'll agree with
Right,
you.
so
that
you
he
look at
went
trade.
after that.
Like, trade's a big one, right? He
Mm-hmm.
talked about tariffs on China. He talked about tariffs on Mexico and so forth. He talked about renegotiating our trade deals.
No,
so on and so
I've
forth,
read all
right?
those actually.
And what did we see the media? How did we see the media react to that? With scare tactics, right? Your beer is going to cost an extra 60 cents. Can
Yeah, a
you believe
bunch
that
of
Trump
bullshit.
wants to,
I know.
a bunch of bullshit, right? Look at the way that they reacted. Immigration's another big one. Immigration, I don't think a lot of people actually realize, but like since 1960, 1965, mass immigration into the country has suppressed the wages to the point that we saw a $500 billion loss for native workers, for workers who were born in the country since 1965. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars lost in wages. And then second to that, and you can look at this on a graph, you can see that the wages tracked with the gross domestic product of the country, with the GDP of the country, all the way up until about 1960. And then it started to separate from the GDP of the country. Now, the only people in the country whose wages track with the GDP increase in the country are people who make over $140,000 a year after taxes. So the rich are benefiting from things like trade, from things like, you know, moving capital, the globalization of the economy, mass immigration. They're benefiting from all sorts of different things that Trump was, or the meaning of Trump was against, and his supporters are against. Those things are a threat to the system. Then add on top of that, you have like coronavirus, right? This is something that they're using for the great reset of our economy.
Yeah, I've read that.
Biggest
Perfect.
wealth
Let's talk about that.
transfer that we've ever seen in the history of the planet. And so, you know, when you see things like an anti-shutdown protest, you see how the media reacts. You know that you're, you know, it's almost like, you know, it's like you're fighting. It's almost like the Hobbit, right, with the dragon and the faulty scale.
Yeah, you're
right?
just
and the
looking
dragon,
for that weak spot.
Right, you're looking for that weak spot in the system. So I'm going to support anything that like drastically hurts the system. You want to talk about?
You know what?
Well,
I
yeah.
hear you there. I
Yeah.
hear you there.
So I had brought up the Great Reset when Guy was here. Did you watch that?
I watched a little bit of it. I like Guy a lot. Guy's a good guy. Guy is a good guy.
What a guy!
Did you come on?
What a guy.
If he
Oh yeah, I love Guy. I absolutely love Guy. He's like one of my
Nice.
favorite people ever.
Cool. Well, I wanted to talk about the Great Reset because I've been seeing that everywhere, and I follow this page called Question Everything on Instagram, and they post a lot of shit, a lot of deep dark shit.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the Great Reset and how they tried it in the 70s, and they used swine flu, similar to the coronavirus, by, you know, lying and saying that it was going to cause this great pandemic and there was going to be great loss. So they forced everybody to kind of, not forced, but just pressured everybody to get this vaccine. And people started dying because it was rolled out super quick, you know, and it just all started sounding familiar. But the whole, you know, point and reason behind it was because of this Great Reset.
Mhm.
They want to implement new laws, new everything, and I didn't go too super far deep into it. I'm sorry, but
Well, they
all
kind
you
of
have to do is
started that
read-
with 9/11 and the Patriot Acts.
Yeah, it's the same thing that's happening right now. too.
Basically.
Yeah, all you have to do is read. All you have to do is read the book by Klaus Schwab called The Great Reset. It's a short book. It's a short book, and you figure out everything. I mean, and then just pay attention to what like the World Economic Forum is saying. They're saying it's a great reset. We're going to use the coronavirus as a tool to finish this great reset of our economy, where you have the greatest wealth transfer that has ever happened in the history of the world. The wealth transfer being the wealth being transferred from the middle class to the rich, right? A bigger wealth gap than we've ever seen before. Who are we seeing who's benefiting from the coronavirus lockdowns right now? Who are benefiting? Right?
Yeah,
the
it's the large corporations,
large
the
pharmaceuticals.
pharmaceuticals.
big tech,
Big
it's
tech.
big media.
Yep.
It's Walmart. It's the big box stores. And who's suffering? The small businesses, the restaurants. We're talking about 30 or 40% of small businesses are closed forever now. People are. I mean, we could talk about people commit. We could talk about all sorts of things in terms of how deadly the effects of the shutdown are. They don't care that more people are dying from the effects of the shutdown. They don't care about that. They don't care that
I know
millions of people are going to die.
Not to
from the
interrupt
effect-
you,
Go
but
ahead.
I know you brought up those statistics, and I know you talked about the amount of deaths that actually occur from things other than, and you've brought them up too on one of our podcasts about the amount of deaths that actually occur from things that are way, way, way deadlier and an endemic thing of our disgusting, sick American culture that it has become with fast food and unhealthy lifestyles, and all
Calorie
sorts of stuff,
consumption
calorie
is up.
consumption, all that stuff.
Alcohol consumption's up.
But what I want to know is, if you look at it numerically, okay, so let's look at COVID and let's look at it numerically. If you look at it numerically, the amount of deaths, and I know that the numbers have gone like this and they've gone like that, but they've always tried to stay high here and then they went down. At what point do you say there's really something's going on? There's really people dying in numbers that don't make sense. What do you think that number should be? What percentage of the population dying, say, in a year would say, okay, we've got a problem here, we need to shut it down? Because right now I think they're saying that the actual death rate is 1%, right?
No, it's less than that.
Less than 1? Has it
Yeah,
gone
the
down
infection
again?
fatality rate. No, the infection fatality rate is far less than 1%. For most age groups, the infection fatality rate, so we're talking about the rate at which someone is infected, fatality rate, the infection fatality rate, is on par with the flu or far less than the flu for most age groups.
Okay, but initial
we're talking
numbers
about
weren't
point-
showing that, and this was from the
The initial
the
numbers, they
CDC,
told
right?
us, the initial number, when this first started, they told us that there was a fatality rate, or mortality rate rather, of 5%.
Yeah, it was pretty
They
damn
told
high.
us, but we already figured it. We figured it out. We figured it out a long time ago that the infection fatality rate of the virus is like on par with the flu, or far less than the flu for most age groups. We're talking
Okay.
about for most age groups.
So what you're saying is
And
get
so-
vaccinated.
No, I'm not saying get vaccinated. No, actually, natural infection is
Is the best vaccination you can
yeah,
get.
it's the best vaccination you can get.
You know, both of my kids had
And
it already, and
I had it
went
already.
in
I'm
and out
pretty
of our
sure I
house.
had it already.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
pretty sure
almost
too.
100% positive I had it back in like February of 2020.
Okay,
But-
let me ask you
But
one more
let's
thing.
stay on
then.
this though.
Okay, no, it's the
Hold on,
same thing.
but-
It's the same
okay.
thing because and this is important. What do you tell a healthcare worker or people who work in the healthcare that are seeing this influx of people that are dying and the bodies stacking up and the trucks showing up? I mean, what does that play into this? Because I want to believe what you're saying.
Well,
that
I don't know. I mean, I know that certain well, here's the thing. If they were okay, well, we have to really start this from the beginning, right? So, here's the problem.
okay,
Okay, we know that statistically, the infection fatality rate is either on par with the flu or far less than the flu for most age groups. In 2017 and 2018 flu season, you can look this up. We can pull this up on Time Magazine. This was an article from Time Magazine.
okay, let me know when you got it. I'll pop it on the screen.
Flu
Okay.
season treating people in tents. Okay. Here it is. Time Magazine. Hospitals in 2018 were so overwhelmed by flu patients, they were treating them in tents. This was from back January 18th of 2018. That's how bad the flu season was back in
And
2018.
fatalities as well, and people dying.
Well, the infection fatality rate was the same as the infection fatality rate of the coronavirus. Second to that, Fauci said that the flu season of this season in January of 2020, last season when the coronavirus started, January of 2020 was going to be the most deadly flu season that we've ever seen before. This is what Fauci said back in January of 2020. Here's the CNN article. U.S. on track for one of the worst flu seasons in decades. Now, the last worst flu season that we had caused 80,000 deaths from the flu. And it could even be higher than that. It could be closer to like 100,000 people who died directly from the flu. Now, this is in January of 2020, before anyone knew anything about the coronavirus, but right before the coronavirus. Now, how is it the case that all of a sudden we had a 98% drop in flu cases in the U.S., where basically flu deaths in the U.S. dropped to zero, if Dr. Fauci himself at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic said that we were in store for one of the worst flu seasons in decades? The point that I'm trying to make is that if they were to focus on the flu deaths, if they were to focus on the deaths from the flu, and you were to have all this media coverage and a world ticker of all the flu deaths and all the flu cases that were happening and people getting tested and rapid testing for the flu and so forth. And you have to remember, this is a virus that has the same infection fatality rate for most age groups. And you had hospital workers who had flu patients coming in one after another, dying from the flu. Then everyone would be afraid of the flu. So it's the coverage of this that scares the shit out of people. If you
Okay.
remember the beginning of this, they were showing us pictures of people getting buried on islands off the coast of New York City. There were like trucks showing up with bodies just getting buried on this one island off the coast of New York
Okay,
City.
so your statement is it's that same skewed coverage perspective that is creating the fear of the whole COVID thing.
Yes,
and
that's
that the
exactly
and
right.
that the COVID
but that's
thing is
intentional.
being
But it's
used
intentional.
as a massive tool, a large tool in the portfolio of resetting.
Yes, but it's an intentional thing. It's an intentional thing. You have to remember, because they have to scare the shit out of people to get them to stay locked in their basements in order to commit to this great reset, right? Because it's the only way, if they make sure that the businesses are shut down and their competition is cut off at the knees, it's the only way that this great wealth transfer is going to happen, where you're transferring the wealth from the middle class to the elite. and the World Economic Forum even talks about the Great Reset. They say you will, and by 2030, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what the World Economic Forum says right on their website. That's what this is about. That's and honestly, and also, not honestly, but also, it's also about
What you got there?
People making a shit ton of money. This is from our website here. This is the redelephants.com. The science is settled. Lockdowns are more deadly than the virus itself, and masks don't work. This is the suicidal ideation, which has skyrocketed during the lockdown for young adults and all ages. Alcohol consumption drastically increased. Calorie consumption drastically increased. Monthly overdoses grew dramatically during the pandemic.
We talked about all this, remember?
We're also looking at, according to the UN, worldwide, there are 10,000 additional children dying a month due to the lockdowns and 550,000 additional children suffering from malnutrition. There will also be an additional 1.4 million additional people who die from untreated tuberculosis. So you're looking at the majority of the people are dying from the effects of the shutdown, but they're hyper-focusing on the 400,000 people who have supposedly died from the coronavirus, which is inflated by 1,600%. Those deaths are inflated by 1,600%.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that there's a significant amount of reporting where if a person died and they happen to have coronavirus detectable in their system, whether it was a trace amount or if it was in their blood or wherever it was, then that was ruled as a COVID-related death.
Well, I'll show you right now. Check this out.
Okay.
Coroner, Colorado. Gunshot. And this is not going to be covered in the national media. This is covered in local media sources like KMOV, which is like an ABC. I don't remember what that logo is. ABC,
Yeah, I think
CBS
it's ABC.
affiliate. Colorado coroner calling out how state classifies COVID deaths. Now, you read on there, it talks about Brenda Brock, who's the coroner, who says that 2 of their 5 deaths in this one specific part of the country, and there's more of this, 2 of their 5 deaths related to COVID-19 were people who died from gunshot wounds. So, and the reason why this is happening, we're going to go back to my website here. The reason why this is happening is because we look at the misclassification of COVID deaths. I'm going to read this. This is a peer-reviewed study. A peer-reviewed study contends the Center for Disease Control violated federal law by inflating coronavirus fatality numbers exponentially. The fatality, and this is according to a peer-reviewed scientific study, the fatality figures were inflated by at least 1,600% according to the study, titled COVID-19 Data Collection, Comorbidity, and Federal Law. The study noted that on March 24th, the CDC published an alert instructing medical examiners, coroners, just like the coroner we just talked about, and physicians to de-emphasize underlying causes of death, also known as pre-existing conditions and comorbidities. Many coroners have come forward to express their concern on how officials are recording their COVID deaths. We just talked about the Grand County, Colorado coroner. Data show... So basically what's happening here is you have, all of these different deaths that are misclassified as a COVID death, when truly they should be classified as something else. So what they're doing is they're declassifying these deaths. They're putting COVID as the number one. Here it goes. It says the study also concludes that the CDC illegally enacted new rules that violated federal law, which resulted in a 1,600% inflation of current COVID-19 fatality totals. Under the new rules, COVID-19 was to be listed as Part 1 on death certificates as a definitive cause of death, regardless of confirmatory evidence, rather than in Part 2 as a contributor to death in the presence of pre-existing conditions. On its website, the CDC itself says just 6% of the people counted as COVID-19 deaths died of COVID-19 alone. The following are the top underlying medical conditions linked with COVID-19 deaths: influenza and pneumonia. So influenza is, the 80,000 deaths that we talked about, the people who die from influenza during the deadliest flu season we've had. Influenza, all those flu deaths are now being included in COVID-19 deaths. Respiratory failure, hypertensive disease, diabetes, cardiac arrest. Each and every single one of the COVID deaths have 2 or 3, on average, additional medical conditions
let me
attached
pull
to
those
that
up.
COVID death. And
There
these
they
are the
are.
additional medical conditions.
There they are, guys. There they are.
And
Check it out.
that apparently includes, according to coroners who have come forward, apparently includes gunshot wounds and car accidents. As long as they are tested positive for COVID-19, they're getting registered as a COVID-19 death. So I would say that it's not 0.01%. It's probably, or 0.1%. I would say that the infection fatality rate is probably far less than the flu for all age groups.
Yeah,
in my
you know, it's
opinion,
funny.
Once you start reducing,
I
this.
know somebody whose brother is a paramedic driver. They scored a bot at an accident scene, and that person died in the ambulance. And when they got to the coroner, he watched, and the coroner wrote down coronavirus because the guy had coronavirus in him.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's like you have all these stupid liberals out there, and these stupid people in general, even apolitical people, who will admit that the healthcare system is corrupt, except when it comes to coronavirus. They buy hook, line, and sinker everything that the healthcare system tells them about coronavirus. They'll admit that, like, corporations are corrupt, and they're fighting the system, but they'll regurgitate everything that the system says on everything from coronavirus to mass immigration to trade to the anti-shutdown protest to the Trump, everything, right? These people truly believe that they're fighting the system, but really what they're doing is that they're allied with the system, and they're just parroting the talking points.
What's in the
of
shot?
The system
What's in the shot?
constantly. The shot. I mean,
What's
the
in
shot.
there?
we
Besides
actually
the
have
RNA,
this-
what's in there?
We actually have this up on our website too as
Okay,
well.
we'll pull it up. Hold on.
We talk about the extreme adverse reactions that follow COVID-19 vaccines. Many are asking if the vaccines are safe. Here's the thing. This is from Johnson & Johnson. This shows from Johnson & Johnson shows the typical phase clinical trials that you're supposed to go through for a vaccine. Each and every single one of these trials either takes months or takes multiple years to go through for a vaccine. The mRNA vaccine, the COVID vaccine from Pfizer and Moderna that they're talking about here should have probably taken at least 15 years to create. We're talking about a vaccine that took months. They skipped a lot of these phase trials. They combined a lot of these phase trials. They rushed through the vaccine. We don't even have data on how this gene therapy vaccine actually works and how it affects you. We don't have data on the adverse reactions from the COVID vaccine. We do know that from some vaccine research facilities, they're reporting certain data, like this one here. They say that out of their 267 participants, 21% exhibited one of these adverse reactions. Anaphylaxis, which is anaphylactic shock.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Permanent paralysis, Bell's palsy, where one side of your face, basically, remember our human resource manager?
Yep.
One side of your face goes, completely numb. Cardiac arrest. 70% of the 21% that exhibited these adverse reactions were women. And I'll point you to something else. If you want to talk about someone who's like elite, someone who's at the top, even Mark Zuckerberg is reluctant to take the vaccine. I don't know if we could play a video on your live stream here.
Well, let's go for it and see if it
Let's
goes
see
through.
if it works. Let's see if we can hear it. I can't hear it.
Hang on.
You're going to have to add...
No, you know what? I'll add...
Captions?
Hang on a second.
You have to add a screen.
Hold on. Give me a second here. Just don't play it yet. Let me...
Playing, Eric.
It's not playing.
Shut up.
You have to add a... I forget what it's called on OBS.
There's a...
It's in your mixer. It's called... It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Basically, I could just sum up what he said. He said that... Here's the captions right here. We just don't know the long-term side effects of...
Hang on. It's this sideways so you can actually see it nice and big.
Yeah.
Here you go.
We just don't know the long-term side effects of basically modifying people's DNA and RNA. And this is a leaked video.
Oh, you know what?
Where he's
You can
talking
play
about-
it. They will hear it because we're not looping the audio that's going through here, so they should be able to hear
Well,
it.
just let Vince sum
It's
it up.
it's fine. That's basically the summary of what he said. He basically said that
You're done. Okay. all
this
right,
is Mark
okay.
Zuckerberg who said that he's not sure about what the effects are of
Yeah.
like modifying someone's DNA, because you have to realize
I know.
this is a
It's-
different type of a vaccine. This is not like your flu vaccine.
I know it's an RNA.
mRNA.
So
right.
it's a
And
a
so
program, it's a sequence, and it's designed to
it
trigger
trains
your
your
body
DNA,
and
right.
train your DNA
Yeah.
to respond a certain
right.
way.
Yeah, to a certain
So-
toxin,
Yes.
which they're injecting in you. That's what this is.
I told a story on a previous episode, and I'll tell it because I thought it was pretty crazy. Last year, I was doing some handyman work, and I was installing Christmas lights
Yeah.
for this lady who owned a clinic, and she was doing COVID tests. And so she was on the phone making calls every day, incoming calls nonstop, and I was at her house maybe for about 5 hours. And every phone call that she got, she said, "Oh, hi, what's your name?" Whatever. She went through her little script, and she asked patients how they were doing or how they were feeling, and if they've gotten COVID or not, whatever. And after listening to everybody on the phone, everybody's like, "Yeah, I had it," or "Yeah, I think I've gotten it twice," or "I've had it already, but how do you feel?" "Oh, I feel fine." "Okay, just remember to keep your
Right.
distance," whatever. So at the end of the day, I thought about, out of all these damn phone calls that I heard, most of them, like 90% of them, everybody that called, and I heard their age and everything, it's like everybody was doing fine. Everybody was feeling fine. Nobody had an issue. Nobody was worried. And at the end of the day, I asked her, I said, "Hey, how fatal is this virus really?" And she said, "Oh, it's not fatal at all. It's like more the survival rate is like 98% or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Or probably even higher." And she showed me this chart, and she told me not to ever tell anybody, but in this chart she had hundreds of names, and she said everybody that's green has either had COVID already, and they're survived, whatever. But the people who are in red are people who are having a bad time. And out of all those green names that I saw, there were only a handful of red. And I thought, well, then it's not really a big deal, is it? And she's like, "Oh, no, not really." Like,
Yeah,
but we
I've
have
been
to just
told
play
by so
play
many
the part.
different doctors,
Yeah.
like ER. Like I broke my foot, my kid just bashed his head off the sidewalk the other day. Like I've been told by so many doctors, and this is just like a small anecdotal sample, right? I've been told by so many doctors that it's not as big of a deal as they're making it out to be. Now, that doesn't take away from some of the healthcare professionals that are experiencing, a lot of COVID patients and are super worried about it or whatever. But what you have to realize is that these people have the power to control the perception of everyone in the world. Right? They have the power to control your perception.
Here,
If
look
they
what I
want
did
you to
for you.
focus on coronavirus,
I'm gonna give
oh,
you a
that's
little,
cool.
little something.
Oh, that's cool.
here,
That's a
okay?
cool background. If they have the ability to focus on the coronavirus, if they want you to focus on the coronavirus, they're going to make you focus on the coronavirus. If they want you to focus on black people getting shot by police, which is less likely than them dying of constipation, they're going to make you focus on that shit. If they want you to focus on, whatever it is, if they want you to focus on it, they're going to be able to do that because they
Here we go,
control
here we go.
every single institution. They control propaganda arm of the American regime, which is the mainstream media. They control every institution, corporations, and so forth, academia. They're going to make you focus on whatever they want you to focus on. And they're going to scare the shit out of a lot of people who are too dumb to think for themselves. And that's it right there.
I listen to a lot of people and a lot of friends who are, probably not as deeply well read as you are, but they read up on all this stuff and they're connected and they read all the anti-establishment media and information sources, and they all say the same shit. But in the end, sometimes you just got to look around you and see what's going on, and open your eyes to what's going on right in front of you, or just in your immediate
True.
area. And
Trust your own eyes. Trust your own instincts. Like someone says in the chat here.
Wake up call. And I've always said this. I said, look, you don't have trucks driving out front. Bring out your dad.
Right.
Bring out your dad.
Yeah, you don't see people plopping on the ground.
That did happen once upon a time, apparently.
Well, it did. Not
Back,
apparently. It
back
did.
in the bubonic plague, the
yeah.
Black Plague, yes. But that's not happening right now.
Right.
So
Yeah, someone says by controlling what you see and what you hear. That's exactly what they do. Completely true.
well, once you've been woken up, you just kind of shake your head. Well,
Red pill. It's taking the red pill. You got to take the red pill.
We have
And you'll never go back.
That's right. We have an ad that we did for our podcast that I edited in my voice saying, you take the blue pill and blah, 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 but you take the red pill, and Mike on a Platter shows you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. And one of the ways that we do
You
that
only
is
go
by
about
having
3 feet.
Yeah, about 3 feet. One of the ways we do that is by having guys like Vince on, who works very hard and does a lot of research and reads very deeply into a lot of this stuff.
So what you're saying is we have our guests do all the heavy lifting,
pretty much.
and we just supply the space.
That's all you need to do.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's it.
You know, just Vince, come on in here and share your research,
Tell us
because
everything.
we love having you here, and we love having you share information. Do we have anything else we want to bug him for?
Yeah, to come back when Guy
I'm down. I'm totally
decides
down.
to fucking get back on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm totally
Have
down.
him and Guy. We just got
Have
to get a
Guy
better
watch
setup.
this podcast.
Oh yeah, we will. Vince, is there anything else you want to touch on before we sign off?
That's it, man. That's it. Shout out to all the fans out there in the chat. Right, what is your show called? Mike on a Platter.
yeah.
Fans out there. Well, I brought a lot of people here.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
we
probably
like
just
to-
two
okay.
of them in there.
Yeah.
It's like two Mike
There
on
you
the
go.
Platter fans.
I'm
somewhere.
surprised I couldn't get more people here. I shared
Nah,
it
don't
at the
worry
very
about
last
it. You
minute.
know what, man? This is the homegrown,
I think it's because it's YouTube.
slow growth
I
organic
saw a few
thing.
people asking if we stream elsewhere.
Oh well, yeah. You guys should restream
Yeah.
on. You should restream on Trovo, and you should restream on, YouTube, obviously, and
George is
maybe
gonna
even
hook
Twitch.
it all up.
Oh yeah, sure.
So
Someone's saying it's too short. Yeah,
too
sometimes you
short.
have to cut it
It's
short.
been an
'cause
hour, right? It's been over an hour.
What, you
right?
want to go for a
Hasn't it
little
been?
bit longer?
Well, I mean, it's 9. I might get. Yeah, I need to go do some. I need to go do my own work. I need to edit, and I need to start posting some videos.
Yeah, Vince
so.
is only going to give us so many freebies, you know.
Well, there you go.
So.
We apologize.
Trovo,
Right,
yeah, you
part
gotta
two.
stream on Trovo.live. It's in the restream. I showed you how to do restream.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Eric,
yeah. I'll set it up.
Restream.io. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, eat a dick. Hey, anyway, so
Whatever.
hey, you guys,
All right.
Vince, thanks
That's
so much for coming on, and all of Vince's fans and the Red Elephants, you guys, we appreciate you
Oh, yeah.
joining in and
you go.
giving us your 2 cents
Appreciate
and
it,
all
man.
that stuff. And if you like Mike on a Platter, check out some of our podcasts. We have a bunch of pre-recorded stuff, some funny, silly stuff that George and I do. We go down some of our own rabbit holes. Maybe it's not this political stuff, although we do entertain some of it. We haven't dug into it as deep as Vince has, obviously, but we do get into some deep shit here on this show. And we do a lot of the extraterrestrial and interdimensional being stuff, and energies and metaphysics and all that stuff. So come check us out too if you like. But we do appreciate your support, and anybody who's listening, if you want to subscribe and make sure you turn on your notifications. We're going to do this every Wednesday night.
They
at
say
8
talk
p.m.
about aliens. That's what
That's
they're
right.
saying in the chat. We should talk about aliens
Oh,
next
really?
time.
Fucking A,
Alright.
come on.
I don't
back
know
next time.
shit about aliens, but I want to talk. I
Well,
like
hey,
to talk
I have
about
a.
Oh,
So-
we will talk your ear off
So
about aliens.
recently, there was a.
Okay, wait, but there's
Israeli
more. Here we
space
go.
chief.
We're not going just yet. Okay,
Yeah,
this
we're not
is
leaving,
important one.
alright?
Pull it up.
We're
Pull it
gonna-
up. Pull it up.
Oh
Dude,
my
this
God,
is
we don't
very
need to.
important.
We don't
Go
need to. All right.
Cool. What should I pull up?
Put Israeli space chief.
Oh,
that-
Israelis are involved in the aliens.
So this is why I
They're
brought up
involved
the
in
whole
everything.
"They Live" movie. Okay, the reason why I
Okay.
brought that up
So-
is hold on before you go there is because this. I think that this is a part of it. We're part of a intergalactic community.
Former Israeli space chief says aliens exist and
Okay.
Trump knows about it.
Yeah.
Pull that up.
So his story, he was
Okay.
interviewed. This dude's about pushing 80, and he came out and he said that
Can you get it
the
sideways?
U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, now you can get it nice and big so
Oh
everybody can
shit!
see it.
I didn't even realize that. Oh, oops.
Here, you
we
can
should
put
have been
this.
doing
But
that
watch
the
out, watch
entire
out.
time.
Okay, next time you
Yeah.
come in. Here, check it out. There you go. Now you can
There
put
we
it
go.
in. Okay, scroll through this.
And
This
it's
is this
full
is
screen. All right,
this
go
is
ahead.
just one of
Go ahead.
thousands of pieces of information out there on this subject. Okay,
right, tell us.
that we will bring to you.
Just summarize
All right,
the
yeah,
story
so I'll
first.
summarize it.
Summarize the story.
So he comes out and he's interviewed, and he exposes that the U.S. and Jordan have been in some kind of secret contract with an intergalactic species from Mars, space, whatever, and they've been in cahoots for hundreds of years. And
Wait, who has been in cahoots?
The U.S. and Jordan. So
Okay.
and
Again, the elites
Yeah.
who are the
So-
representatives of the planet. We all know we don't want them as representing our planet.
So he said that Trump knew about it, which is why Trump he pushed and he created the Space Force, because he wanted to have a military that can defend us in case of an attack. So Trump was planning on exposing the aliens to everybody, but supposedly the aliens intervened and said, hey, people aren't ready. Your species isn't ready to understand what spaceships are. Who we are, what we are, whatever.
Interdimensionality.
That's so
Exactly.
crazy to think about. Can you imagine that happening? Like, it's almost like Independence Day, right? The aliens come up to you and say, "Don't tell anyone about us yet,
Yeah.
because Imagine Trump talking to an alien.
Yeah, I mean
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's crazy to
Yeah,
think
that-
about.
That's why I'm saying watch the movie They Live, and it will explain everything, and you
So-
won't be confused anymore. It will all make sense. All of this,
Right, but
everything
aliens
Vince talks
aren't
about,
like
the whole
taking
thing.
away my like freedom of speech. They're not like arresting me for being like a Trump supporter.
No, they're
not-
just
They're
Well,
not putting
there
me
might
in
be an
prison for
agenda there
sharing
that you're not
memes.
fully
They're,
aware
you know,
of.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, I'm not too worried about aliens as I am like the Americans. Like,
But see, but that's the transition point, okay?
they're not like spreading a coronavirus to cause a great wealth transfer.
Well,
But
but
it's interesting.
that could be
It's
the
certainly interesting.
transitional part between them and us, because eventually they're gonna want to be fully
Right.
in charge of this more than they are on a deeper level.
But
I
wonder
do
how-
love
I wonder
talking
how
about
long-
aliens, though. I do
like-
love talking about it.
Like, how long do you think? You know, when do you think it'll come when we coexist with, you know, a species?
It may not be in my lifetime. It may be in your lifetime or my kid's lifetime. It's only
Someone
a matter
said the
of time.
Pentagon Navy released that UFO flight contact info. I don't know what that
Oh,
means.
they've a Freedom of Information Act.
This turned gay.
illegal. Oh, this turned
Agreed.
gay. Jordan hasn't existed for hundreds of years. Okay. So,
Okay, well,
yeah, no,
anyway,
no worries.
Israeli. The
Or you're
Middle
talking
East.
about-
Well,
yo,
the guy
yo,
in the
man, the
article, guy said-
Mesopotamians, motherfucker.
Okay, thank you. In the article, the guy said the U.S. And Jordan. Those were his words.
Right.
Okay, well,
I'd
it-
have
it
to, I have
doesn't
to read
matter.
through
It
that
doesn't
article.
matter.
I have to read through that article.
What matters is there's a whole treasure trove of information there for you, and it's coming. Don't worry.
Sorry.
All right, you guys. So, George quit being fucking a flaming homo, and Vince, you too. And
No worries,
kidding.
man.
Well, what else are people saying? This is kind of fun reading through
yeah,
this shit.
I know. No, it's good. Let's read the next thing that
What
pops
do
up.
the aliens look like? Someone said.
There's so many species.
Eric knows all about him.
Okay. Well, we
We'll
don't need
get
to get
into
into
that
that.
later.
I
Yeah.
need to go. I need to go get back to work.
He's
Oh,
got
yes.
work to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, he's got
All
work.
right, you guys. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Vince, James from the Red Elephants, for coming in again and sharing all your killer information. Thanks for joining Mike on a platter. Red Elephant fans, we appreciate it. And if you want to check out more, subscribe and turn on your notifications. We're going to do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And thanks again for coming in, you guys.
Later.
Take it easy. You end the stream. You gotta end the stream. Oh, okay.